Namaste and welcome to the Sona Mate Show, the podcast that brings you clear, honest, and heart-to-heart advice on studying abroad and building the future that you truly want. I am your host, Sona Mate. Whether you're a student dreaming of studying abroad, or you're a parent wanting the best for your child, or just curious about life and education in the UK, this episode is made just for you. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome a very special guest who has spent more than 20 years opening doors for the students all over the world. Please give a warm welcome to Sergine Monple, Director of Global Engagement at Bangor University. Sergine has worked at some of the UK's top universities over 20 years, helping thousands of international students, yes, many from Nepal too, start their UK journey with the confidence. She is actually a person who builds bridges between countries, creates life-changing opportunities, and truly believes every single student deserves a bright future. Sergine, a huge warm welcome and thank you for joining us today. We are all ready to learn from your experiences, so let's jump right in. So welcome, Sergine, and thank you so much for being here in my show, the Sona Mate Show. You were also an international student. So why is British education so appealing for the international students?
Namaste, Sona.
Namaste.
Thank you so much for inviting me on your show and for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about British education and also a bit of my journey. You can't be as nervous as I am, but anyway. I was born in Mauritius and I went to the UK many years ago as an international student. Mauritius has a long, having been a British colony, there's a strong affiliation with the UK.
Right.
And therefore, for me, there was no other choice, or no other option. I wanted to go to the UK. But the UK also has a long legacy of welcoming international students to its campuses. Some of the universities are over hundreds of years old and are open to international students. The UK's university are heavily regulated. We have universities in Wales, England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and all welcome international students, especially Nepalese students, also very welcome there. Students have the opportunity to do their foundation degrees for those who require it, undergraduate, postgraduate, and even if they want to go ahead and do research. So the university, the UK, is very welcoming to international students, and British universities have a long tradition of teaching international students, and many go on to do many things. For me, it really helped with my career aspirations. It helped me develop as a person. It taught me a lot of things. Many people that I met when I first arrived are still lifelong friends and now work in education. Something I never thought I would do. But the idea of being able to transform lives and provide the same opportunities that I have had in the past to other international students is something that's really appealing to me.
So basically, you say that getting an education in United Kingdom that helps people academically, personally, professionally, in all the aspects. So I have heard a lot of, I don't know that is something that I've heard or people really experience it, but just sharing the experiences that has been shared to me. They really, the international students, I'm not only talking about the Nepalese students, but the students, international students, especially from Southeast Asia, they really feel a cultural shock when they go to United Kingdom, so what do you think the students should keep in mind, or what do they have to do? Nowadays, it's a little easier because of the accessibility of the internet and they get to know everything. But still, so you don't have that first-hand experience, right? So what do you think, what is the suggestion that you want to give to the students wherein they do not go on shock for a couple of months?
You are right. It is a shock. I mean, I arrived in January, right in the middle of winter. But students generally arrive for a September start. And that's, again, going towards the colder period. For some students, they have never been away from home, never been on a plane. I didn't know how to cook, so that might also be an issue. And so you do, when you arrive, you feel a little bit isolated. But there's a lot of help and support provided, not just by the universities. So many universities have colleagues who are based in South Asia who can help the students in terms of their transition into the UK. Universities provide student support as well. So for example, my university, we pick the students up from the airport, so we provide a free airport pickup.
Oh, you do? Yeah, that's really great.
To ensure that the students get to the campus. They've arrived from a long flight and feel a bit disoriented about where to go, so we help with that. I would say to students, don't struggle, don't be on your own, talk. The best thing you could do is share what you're going through. Many universities will provide peer mentoring, where you are buddied up with students who maybe have experienced something similar to you or have been at the university for a long time, who can really help you. And students should also join clubs and societies, so they're not on their own. Discover new things, new passions, new hobbies, make friends, and make sure that if you're feeling lonely, that you are talking. You should have, as part of your course, you will also have a personal tutor. So there's support, not just from a social point of view, but also from an academic point of view, as well as support from the international office, student support as well, where students can go and talk and share what they are going through. That's the biggest piece of advice for me, because if you suffer on your own, you're not actually, talking about how you're feeling will help you acclimatize to where you are in the UK, but also make friends and share what you're going through with students who potentially have had the same. But not everybody goes through that, but it does happen.
Yeah, I think most of the students who goes abroad for the studies, I think they feel isolated for some reason. As you've mentioned, that they've never moved out of the house and they have to do everything on their own. That might be. This sounds scary, actually.
Yeah. And I think for Nepalese and other students as well, the university has societies. So, for example, at Bangor University, we have a Nepalese society who are really, really active. So we encourage students to make contact with them, so they can have a community of their, fellow Nepalese countrymen and women, and therefore that's really helpful in terms of getting integrated in society.
That's really nice. So basically, if you're talking about like a UK bachelor's or master's program, how much time do the student has to spend on lectures, and how much time do they have to study on their own? Because the education system in Southeast Asia especially, and the United Kingdom is really different. So you spoke about getting into clubs, mingling around, finding out friends and exploring. So what is the hour that especially on like UK's bachelor's and master's program?
It depends on the course, and it depends on the level. So for example, if you are studying law, you spend a lot of time in a library, you spend a lot of time learning, researching. So depending on the course, so each course will have a set number of hours, and I strongly recommend that students do attend classes. It's really important, so you don't miss out on things. So there is a lot of self-study as well, and group study. So depending on the course, depending on the level, master's students do a lot more self-study. They do a lot more research. So it is depending on the course. If you did a design course, you would spend maybe less time in classroom, because you're then working on your own design. So as part of the course, the tutors will set how much time they should dedicate onto self-study and library time, as well as in classrooms. But the more you do, the better you do.
So education system in United Kingdom, especially if I have to be very precise, the assessment format. Is it like final exam heavy thing, or you have a different assessment formats?
Again, it's very different. Depending on the course, you could have essays rather than exams, but some it is exam based. So again, very, very much depends on the course. Some will be practical assessments, but again, it's very depending on the course that you are doing.
So basically, it is not of too much of getting into books all the time. The education system of United Kingdom, as far as I know, that's more of a practical experiences, right?
Yeah, practical. So if we go back to law, there's a lot of debates, mooting, so practical element to that. Students are encouraged to join like mooting, debating societies. They can take part in university debates and represent the university. So some of that can be part of the assessment.
Yeah.
But then you will have other things like business, for example, might be more coursework or an exam. Engineering, you might have a project that you have to submit. So I know I keep going back to depending on the course, but I think that's what determines whether you are doing more of a practical element, coursework, but also if you're sitting exams.
So we're talking about an examination. So basically, I have heard a lot about like foster critical analysis in like the students copying the projects, submitting to the universities. Is there any penalties as such? I just wanted to know because I have a couple of friends and they say like, oh, this person has done my assignment, or I'm just gonna copy paste it, and I like, does it work that way?
It doesn't work.
Exactly.
I mean, students have tried it, but the universities are very well equipped with software that will detect cheating, and when that happens, the students mostly at risk of failing that module. So it's obviously not recommended. It should be your own work that you submit, because you are the one who is studying on this program and will therefore use your degree for your future careers.
Right.
So cheating is not tolerated at the university and it will get found out.
So what will be the action?
Some will be given the opportunities to resit if, for example, the level of cheating was to a certain percentage, but they can fail the module and therefore can fail the course and be expelled from the university.
So you have to do your work. You have to believe in hard work, then copy.
And submit your own work, yeah.
So we have reached to UK. So let's come back to Asia. So besides top ranking, what do you think top 3 things that students should check before applying for a university or choosing a university?
I don't think that ranking is the first thing that students should be looking for. I think students should look at a university setting and make sure it's the right university for them. For example, you have city universities who are based in the city centre, and you have campus-based university. What suits you better? Is a big city better for you? So is London better than Manchester?
Yeah.
Or if you're a really shy person, do you want to go to a much smaller city, for example, Bangor in Wales? I think it's about the type of institution that you are also going to. A lot of people look at ranking, but the subject they want to study may not be why the university is ranked so high in the UK.
Right.
For example, you have students wanting to study architecture at a university that might do medical research.
Oh yeah.
And that's why they're high ranking. So choosing a university from being a good fit for you, but also it's expensive to study in the UK. Therefore, making sure that the fees vary from institution to institution. Is this the right institution for you from a financial point of view? You have to be able to sustain paying fees if you're doing an undergraduate degree for 3 years, and therefore is that what you need to be looking for?
Right.
And then also I would say the courses. Is the course right for you? Are you doing the course that you want that fits your career aspirations. So I think for me, ranking is not, all the universities in the UK are very, very good universities, all very well regulated. Therefore, for me, ranking is not the most important in terms of choosing a university, especially having been to the UK as an international student. I went to London because my family, my relatives lived in London, so that made sense for me at the time. But I was also a very shy student who, I'm not sure London was the right place for me, although I love London and I really definitely enjoyed living there. But I think the choice of university, making sure that it is the right type of institution for you, the financials, what sort of fees are you looking for, are there any scholarships, that, is that within your budget, and making sure that the course that you've chosen is the right one in terms of your career aspirations.
Makes sense. And you're talking about choosing the right course. So how do the student choose their courses? And how do they know that they're officially recognized courses or the degrees that they get in United Kingdom as well as their home country? So is there any specific courses or fields?
Sure. So some courses, such as engineering, will have to be regulated by a regulatory body. So the students can check that on the university website. They can go on the regulator's website as well and double check that their universities are listed there. From a country perspective, I don't think Nepal has any issues with recognition of universities, but some countries do. Some countries do not want top ranking universities, top 200, where they will either sponsor students to go to. But generally the Ministry of Education is a good place to start if you're not sure that your university is one that is recognised here in Nepal or any countries around the world, and also in the UK. So yes, I think I would if it's a course that has, as I said, engineering, law, architecture, they have regulatory bodies, and they normally put that on the website when you are looking for the course. In terms of choosing the right course for you, it's what do you want to do? Where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself in an office? Do you see yourself doing field work? Are you somebody who wants to work with people, or are you somebody who is happy doing experiments, lab experiments on your own? So it's about knowing a bit of yourself in terms of what you actually aspire to do afterwards. Talking to people in the different businesses. So for example, an example I can give you is I went to a school in Uganda, and they were really pushing this girl to do medicine. And it was the school pushing her to do medicine. And she started medicine, she fainted at the sight of blood, and she didn't want to do medicine. So it's about talking to people in the profession as well, finding out what they do on a day-to-day basis, understanding what that job entails, and is that then the right job for you? Talking to teachers, talking to friends, family about what they do, and trying to ascertain what is the best job then for you.
Right. And there's one question while you're saying something. Can a Nepali student who has just done their bachelor's, 3 years of bachelor's, can apply for UK master's program?
Yes.
Is it like you have to have some procedures for getting into a master's degree, or you can directly apply?
You can directly apply, or you can use an agency here in Nepal. Each university will have their own entry requirements and English language requirements. So it's important to check the university that you've chosen, what their entry requirements are, what the English requirements are, what the fees are, what else do you need to submit. So if you were doing design course, you have to submit a portfolio. Is there any progression issues? So for example, if you've done an undergraduate in business and you're trying to get into medicine, there's no progression, so it's not the right step for you. So making sure that what you're doing, what you have done in your undergraduate, and what you're looking to do as your postgraduate, is there a link to that postgraduate course? And making contact with the university, submitting your profile, talking to the university, and letting them vet your documents and let them ask you what else that you need to submit.
Especially students who has done bachelor's, I've seen lots of students who's done bachelor's, they have a gap year. So is there any documentation processes needed to apply for UK universities, or you can just apply?
You can just apply, but each university may have a different set of requirements as to how long that gap year can be. So if students have been working, they can produce their CVs, they can produce a letter of reference from their employer. That should accompany their admissions paperwork, so their application form and submission of the other documents, to demonstrate what they have been doing in between their undergraduate and their master's program.
Okay, so that's basically university specific.
Yes.
And what is actually the difference between a foundation course and pre-master's program? I've heard a lot of it, and I really wanted to know, like, what is it? Like foundation year for bachelor's, I guess?
Yes, foundation year for bachelor's. So it's for students.
What is it actually?
It's for students who don't meet the entry requirement for year one entry. So you have some countries where the qualifications don't equate to A levels. So unlike Nepal, where it does when you've done your standard 12, but some countries, their national qualifications don't equate to A levels, so they have to do what we call a foundation year. It's a year that bridges what they've done into that year one of the degree.
So how do the students identify that? Like they have to go into, they need to do a foundation course or pre-master's program?
So they would do so by talking to the institution, to the university, and also if they've chosen an agent, and they will know whether their program, what they've studied in their home countries, whether that is accepted into a UK university. And if they don't, the university will then advise them that they have to do a foundation year before they can then join year one. Many universities have foundation providers on their campus. So for example, we accept a 2.6 for students wanting to join our year one. But if a student had a 2.1, for example, we would then recommend that they do a foundation. And we work with an institution, they offer the foundation pathway at the university's campus. Therefore, they can join the university straight after finishing and passing their foundation year.
I'm actually very skeptical when it comes to credibility interview, or we call it CAS. So I have heard a lot of times universities asking this question: why do you want to study this course? Why do you want to come to this country? This and that, like all sort of these questions. Why is it asked actually? Like the student has applied. Definitely, the student has this vision, wants, and desire to study certain course in certain country. So what is the objective of asking these questions, especially when it comes to a credibility interview?
I think you'd be surprised at how many students are actually non-genuine students. So the UKVI, the UK Visa and Immigration actually want to make sure that universities are recruiting genuine students. If the students were called for an interview by UKVI, these are the types of questions that they would be asked. So we also want to make sure that we are not recruiting non-genuine students to the university. So hence you will find that many, if not all, universities now do credibility interviews with their students.
So to demonstrate genuine intent to comply with the UKVI rules, these questions are asked. Is it what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah, they are asked. We want to know whether they've done their research. So for example, going back to the question about how to choose a university, so we want to make sure that students have actually looked into the university that they want to come and study, that they have looked at their options in terms of, is the UK the best place for them to come and study, or should they be looking at other countries? Is the culture the right fit for them as well? So all these questions help us to tease out why the students actually chose the UK, why they chose the city, why they chose the course and the university. And that helps us to understand the motivation behind them applying to study with us.
All right. So even after paying the deposit, there must have been some reasons wherein university might withdraw a student's CAS, right? What is the only situation where students are guaranteed for the refund, and irrespective of the universities has a lot of internal policies, right? I would want you to enlighten us on
I
this
think
part as well.
that would be university. It would be as per the university refund policy. So that will depend on what the actual university policy says in terms of refunds, and it's impossible for me to comment in general, but each university has its own policy and they will make a decision based on the reason why the student is asking for a refund, and then they would then assess that request and make a decision and inform the student.
So this is CAS is basically like deposits are like refundable, right?
Again, it depends on the university.
So
Each university has its own policy in terms of whether they refund part of the deposit or full deposit refund, or whether they don't refund at all. So that is something that the students should check as well when they are joining the university or applying. But most students, as you say, are applying because they want to join the university, so there's no reason for them to be looking at that, but it is something to consider.
So we're talking about this CAS credibility interview we're talking about is basically to filter who's genuine, who's not. So there are lots of students especially from Southeast Asia, submitting a lot of fake documents, especially forged bank statements, while applying for a UK. And as far as I know, I don't have that much of a knowledge on the rules and the regulations of UKVI, but you have to have a balance of 28 days, I guess, right? And if you're submitting a fake bank statement or a forged document, what are the consequences that you will have to face in terms of a UKVI rules and regulations, or I must say UKVI consequences? What will be that? Is I've heard it's a 10 years of ban or something like that. Would you want to talk about that as well?
I mean, I'm not a visa expert, and I'm not as a university colleague, I can't advise students on visas. However, they would face visa refusals, and that could lead to being banned from entering the UK for a period of time, to having a permanent ban. It impacts their chances of actually being allowed in the UK for either visit or studying. So it's not a best way to start your university journey if you're submitting a fraudulent document. So I strongly advise that students do not do that. It's not, you get found out eventually, and you risk not being allowed to come to the UK, and you impact on your future career aspirations.
That's right. So let's go on the university side. What are the payment schedules? I have heard after paying the initial deposit, how do you usually pay your tuition fees? What is a common tuition fee installment structure, as you also represent the university in UK? Students has been talking about the installment fees. So that is the reason why I'm asking you this question. They're really very keen on do they pay 2, 3, or 4 payments, and what are the fees tuition payments breakdown?
Again, depends on the university, but generally some universities give you the opportunity to pay in 2 installments. So you pay your deposit, and then before you enroll, you have a fixed amount to pay, and then you can pay your next installment when you start semester 2. Some universities will say that you have to pay 50% before you enroll, so you deposit and the remainder that takes you to 50%, and then you may have 2 further installments after that. Again, it's totally dependent on the university, so each of them has their own tuition fee policy, and that includes what the installments are in terms of payments.
So it's not mandatory for all the universities. It's again university specific.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have tested the water in UK.
Okay.
I find it very expensive, very, very expensive. If you see the conversion rate from Nepali rupees to pound, it's insane. So, how much money should a student budget for everyday day expenses, just to have a little bit of clarity before applying to UK? You have to take a lot of things into consideration. If you cannot afford it, as you have mentioned, that is how I this question popped out in my head. Like, how much a student should think that they should allocate for expenses like food, transportation, or other basic things while living in UK. Let's exclude the rent. So, what will be the daily budget that the students should take into consideration?
The UKVI advises two amounts for students. There's a non-London and London rate
Oh,
as
really?
well. Yes.
Oh, wow,
so there
that's-
is a maintenance fee that the students must have in their bank account. So in order to qualify for studying in the UK, students must show full tuition fees of 1 year, plus the maintenance fees in their bank account for 28 days.
Okay.
I think what I've always said to my students, especially I used to look after Africa as a region, and I used to say to students, it depends on how you live. And I know a lot of it seems to be saying depends on the university or depends on the individual, but if you're eating out every day,
Yeah.
it costs money.
Right.
But you can buy food if you make food at home and take that into the university for your lunch. If you're eating, of course you want to eat away, you want to eat with friends, but I think it's about making sure that you are living within your means as well. Students who I've found students who want to eat out all the time, and then they say we have no money. But I think it's making sure that you've got the funds as per the UKVI recommendations, but also making sure that you are living within your means whilst you're at the university.
So you just mentioned about UKVI financial fund rule. So will you tell us a little bit more about it? Like, explain UKVI 28 days financial rule for. Is it like I would say it as a maintenance fund?
Yes. So you've
So
got.
what if the students does not follow that 28 day financial rule, UKVI 28 days?
They will
financial rule?
not get a visa. So that is, it's as simple as that. So the UKVI will check the bank accounts. They will want to be sure that the tuition fees, so if you've paid a deposit of say £6,000, that the remainder of the tuition fees is in the bank account, that the set amount for the maintenance is also in the bank account.
Okay.
And this has to be there for 28 days. We also recommend to students that they put a little bit of extra money in there because of currency fluctuations. So you don't want to be caught out and be short because of currency fluctuations. Therefore, put some extra money in that bank account, a little bit
Right.
more, and it has to be there for 28 days. If it's there for 27 days and you move the money, you will not get a visa. If you withdraw any of the money at any point during those 28 days and you dip below the level that you need, you will not get a visa. So for 28 days, those funds have to remain in the account.
Yeah, it just made complete sense to me. You talked about a fluctuation. I'm thinking about the bank charges, like monthly bank charges or yearly bank charges. If you just put in the exact amount,
Yes.
and if even if the bank deducts their banking charges, then your life is a mess.
Yes.
Right. So let's get into the agents that you work with. So there are lots of students who has been suffering from all the fraud, and so how do the students verify if the agents are genuine?
The universities have a very strict process in terms of employing agents.
Okay.
So, for example, they need to make sure they complete a full application form, provide references, and the UK has also introduced the agent quality framework. that is something now that has become part of the regulation, and we insist that that agents have had the British Council training, adhere to a specific code of ethic, but also that they display on their website a guide for students on how to choose an agent. Universities also have to display all their agents on their website. So for example, if agency X claimed to be representing University Y, the students could check on the university website as to whether they are listed on there. The AQF is very important, and also the universities have to display the student guide to choosing an agent. Agents shouldn't charge money for students to apply with them. So we will provide training to agents as well. So from the minute we go and talk to them, we want to make sure that they are reputable, that they work with UK universities. We find out if they have a high history of visa refusals. So there's a lot of work that in the background that goes into appointing an agent. Once they've submitted all their documents, we vet all those documents, make sure we get references for them, informally talk to colleagues in a sector. Do you know an agent? How are they doing? And then when we appoint them, we continue to do training, whether that's online, whether that's face-to-face. But we also do trips to the UK where we invite agents to come in and see the university, because who best to talk about a university if they've seen it, if they've experienced it, they can see their students there. So I think what's important at the moment is the AQF, the Agent Quality Framework, that's been implemented. It started off as a pledge from universities, but it's turned into a more serious framework that universities and agents have to abide by and make sure that they are reputable, and therefore that students can trust them. But if a student has an issue with an agent, there's also on each university website how to complain about an agent, and they should make use of that function if they're not happy with how their applications are being handled. But it's about talking to the universities as well. Sometimes you may not want to complete a form, but we have colleagues in South Asia, we have colleagues in the UK. It's telling us about your experience with an agent. We might not see that. It might be a specific counsellor and not the agency as a whole, and it allows us then to take action.
That's something that is really nice to know. These rules and regulations that you're just explaining, I don't think it has been too long that all the universities and UKVI is taking this all into consideration. Is it a development? Is it just you're practicing this now, or it has been there?
Some universities have been doing it for a very long time, but I think it was felt, as you said, that there were many rogue agents, that this should become part of the main regulatory framework. So it started as a pledge in 2023, where universities were invited to pledge to the Agent Quality Framework, and it's been developed into more in terms of the training provided by the British Council, making sure universities list their agents, making sure that students are able to complain if they need to, and that we guide the students as to how to choose an agent. Now we also have to put the agent name on the CAS letter, so that's identified. Some institutions have been doing this for a very long time. So one of my previous institutions, they've been doing this for a very, very long time. Some are just starting to do that now, but from next year it's now compulsory that this is on the CAS. So the Agent Quality Framework is very welcome by universities, and it's something that we're working closely with regulators in the UK, BWILA, UUKI, UKVI, to make sure that it becomes the practice.
So we did talk about all of these, that I would call it as a precautionary things that protects the students and the scams that has been going around. So is it normal for agents, Sergine, to ask for the tuition fee? Should the student ever pay in the agent's account, or they have to pay to the university directly?
Students should not pay agents. They should not pay their tuition fees to agents. They should pay the fees directly to the universities.
So what if the agent is pushing a student to pay the bills and then send their personal bank account or their official bank account? So
I would suggest that the student contact the university and either change the agent, so they can change the agent that they're working with, but also it highlights bad practice from an agency, and it allows the university to then take action, as in not work with that agency anymore, and also help the students to navigate and find another agent. So I would advise students not to pay agent their tuition fees, but if they feel pressured or are being pressured to do so, contact the university straight away, because we can then take action and remove that agent from our list of agents, and help the students navigate how they make payment directly to the university.
So have you heard, or do you want to share your experiences, some of those experiences wherein university has not got the payment from the student, and then there has been something going on fishy going on in between, like have you experienced these sort of problems?
Luckily I haven't.
Oh, wow,
very
you're
lucky that I
lucky.
haven't. But I think it also makes clear in our agent contract that the agent should not collect fees from the students, as in tuition fees. So we specifically make sure that this is in our contract. So I have been very lucky that we've not experienced that, but I can imagine that it has happened to students.
But you did you did hear about it, right?
I'm sure it has happened, but I can't say it's happened to me.
So I've also heard that the offer letter. So what should the student look at? Like you go to an agency, and you choose a course. Universities, you've been guided. They work more of career counselors than the agency. But I have just heard. These are just the things that I've heard from somewhere. How do the students figure out that their offer letter and CAS that's not tampered, or this is genuine? Is there any way to figure this out?
Students should ask the agents to log on to the portal, and you can see their offer letters there directly. So that should be, if they click on the offer letter, that's their offer letter, that's there, and it's not been tampered with. I think where, again, we've not had any issues where we've had students receive or complain that they've had a letter that's been tampered with. But I would suggest that if a student, again, is not sure that the agency is looking after the student's benefit, that they let us know, because maybe we can send them their offer letter directly. But if that is happening, they really need to speak to the university, because that should not be happening. I've not heard of any university. I've worked at 3 universities where that's not happened. But I would say talking to the university to make them aware that they suspect that the agency is tampering with offer letters would help the university also in terms of addressing the issue with the agent, terminating the agent, and making sure that the student get their offer letters.
This is not only about the offer letter or the CAS fraudulent. Basically, what I've heard is there are lots of people who are not even the authorized agents of the university. They do not represent any of the universities, and they still are there counseling the students. How do the university get a track of all these agents? Because the students are suffering. At the end, the bottom line is like students are suffering. What I've understood from our conversation, whatever you've shared, is basically student has to be always on their toes, and then probably check on everything, like is there any ways, any rules, any of the easiest ways for students, so wherein they can just verify it so easily. There's nothing as such, no portals or anything, right? Like you have to go through each and every university, click, complain, and how often do you get a response? Like, is it very prompt? I can just share the experiences that my loved ones has faced. So there hasn't been like too much of prompt response from the university, even if you are complaining. So, is it very normal, or that is just an exceptional case? Sometimes something wrong happens, and that only happens to that person. Is it? It's just that case.
There is a lot to unpack in what you've just said, and I think without working for that university, it's difficult for me to comment as to why they may not have dealt with the complaint. But each university has to display on their website the list of agents that they work with. So, for example, if we're talking about Nepalese students, if they go onto a university website, find their country, Nepal, click on agents, it lists the agents there. All of their agents. So if the student is now working with an agency who is not listed on the university website, that's the first one.
Red flag.
Yes. I wouldn't necessarily say red flag, but that's something to look out for. So the student can then contact the university and say, I'm working with agency X. They are not listed on your website. What happens next? We wouldn't accept an application necessarily from agent X if we're not working with them, because they haven't gone through the checks that we carry out to make sure that they are a genuine agency and one that is reputable and should be representing our university. So we would perhaps then advise the student to not work with that agency and recommend that they choose one from the list that is on the website. So I think that's the first thing, that students should not just walk into any agency because it's close to home, or they've heard of, if they've heard good things about them, yes, but are they representing the university that you want to go and study at? If they're not representing the university, then go on the university website. As you mentioned before, in this digital age, students have access to the internet. They can get on the university website and check which of the agents are there. We take complaints seriously. I can't comment on your loved one and that particular university.
How prompt is my question, actually.
I can't comment on. I know that if somebody complained to me about an agent, we would take action straight away. At a previous university, we've had complaints that, for example, they weren't getting their offer letters quick enough. It wasn't, it was a complaint. The student felt they needed to complain. They weren't getting the answers they were getting, and we looked into that straight away. Is it a problem with us that we facing some delays and therefore we haven't issued the offer letter in a timely manner, or is it something that it's the agent because they are holding on to the offer letter for whatever reason? So at the time, so we investigate straight away. So how promptly do universities reply? They should reply promptly, but again, I can't comment on one university. I don't know why they didn't, so that would be difficult for me to comment on.
So let's go back to where we started. There will be a lot of chaos with the students who just arrive in United Kingdom. So what are the important steps that a student must complete once they arrive in United Kingdom? I've heard of BRP. It's like biometric residence permit, if I'm not wrong, or registering with the police. Is it mandatory? So what is it that the students have to complete?
Is no longer a requirement. So when they arrive at the university, they will have a checklist of what their next steps are. They need to fully enroll on the program. That's really important. They have to enroll as soon as they arrive, and conditions of enrollment might mean that they have to go and demonstrate their original certificates. So make sure you travel with that. Do not put it in your suitcase. Have it in your hand luggage, because you may be asked to show that at the border when you arrive. They may have to go and pay their fees. So for example, if they've paid a deposit and there are fees outstanding before enrollment, so for example, when we talked about 50% and the deposit and the remainder, the balance, and then they can fully enroll on their program. So I think it's following the checklist for the university, making sure that you do follow the steps required, in terms of enrollment, in terms of paying your fees, but also attendance. So enrollment and attendance are really, really key.
I have heard that some of the students who arrive in UK, their visa get cancelled by Home Office. I have heard of it. Like, what are the reasons? And when they arrive and their visa get cancelled by Home Office, and how do you avoid these things?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of bad things about the
No, no,
UK.
I'm not hearing a lot of bad things, but I'm just trying to make sure that the students who wants to go abroad does not face these kind of questions. There has to be some awareness, like
Yes.
not intentionally, unintentionally also they do things which will lead to some very serious consequences.
I
So
agree.
I'm not being I'm not asking like too
No,
much of a
you can.
negative question,
No,
but
no.
these are the questions that the general students generally have there in their head. Like they get really scared when
I think
they hear that somebody got a visa, they arrive in UK, and Home Office rejects the visa, and it's not going to go happen
no.
for nothing, right?
Yeah.
So
I think you're
what is
right.
it that
I think
that
it's
the students have to avoid?
one of the main reasons is fraudulent documents. So students
Okay.
arrive, they've been, they have done everything, but they have submitted fraudulent documents, which maybe hasn't been picked up at the time of application or at the time of their visa,
Oh.
or they arrive in the UK and they can't answer any of the questions. They will be asked, why are you here? So they may be asked questions about their course, similar to a visa interview, and they can't answer those. So again, it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, about making sure you do not submit fraudulent documents. Some students who have had previous visa refusals for either the UK or other countries don't declare that, and then it's a fraudulent application because they've not declared previous visa refusals. So it's about being prepared for studying in the UK, where you're going, knowing the city, the course modules, the university, and making sure that everything you have done is 100% genuine, and you have declared everything that you need to declare. So no previous some students can still get a visa if they've had previous visa refusals, but they have to declare it. It has to be looked into. So it's about being prepared for questions when you arrive, traveling with the right documents,
Right.
and not traveling with fraudulent documentations.
Yeah, and be genuine
Yeah.
as much as possible. Even if your visa you got a rejection, that's not a problem to just mention that
It's to
my visa
declare
got
it. I mean, normally the students who have had a previous visa refusals do get called in for interviews, and they declare it then anyway. But it's about being truthful and answering all the questions to, very truthfully, and submitting all the relevant documentation.
Right. And the student has to pay this immigration health surcharge. So, what are the healthcare services? What does it cover? Like, students needs to know. Some students might have their complications. So, I have heard students who are very naive. They're like kids, and they think like paying IHS covers everything. So you being an international student have gone through a lot. Your experience is like I'm feeling like I'm reading a book of a lot of knowledge. So please, not complaining, not asking too many negative questions, but I want
It is
students to
important
know that,
questions.
yeah.
There are important questions.
Immigration health surcharge. What does it actually covers?
Well, I was lucky. I didn't have IHS when I went to study, but then that shows my age. I went to study quite a long time ago. It gives students access to the NHS. So, if they need to see a doctor, they need to see a dentist, that's the access that they get. They register with a GP. So if they need to make appointments, and they have, they've got the flu, they've got other issues that they need looking at, it gives the student access to doctors in the UK.
Immigration health surcharge. I have also lived a little bit outside Nepal. My personal experience. You are not attended by any of the medical professionals, you're just being told to boost up your immune, stay back home. The health conditions of the people deteriorates. That is what I felt. Just to get an appointment with a doctor, I'm not talking about a general practitioner, but a specialist, it takes months and months and months, sometimes years. So how is it in UK?
The National Health Service is a fantastic service, and the immigration health surcharge gives students and others who have to pay for the IHS access to the NHS, the doctors and dentists, and you get treated for everything.
So this covers dental charge, dentist,
NHS
like
dental.
even if you have to do a root canal or really?
Yeah.
I don't think it applies in United States. So that's why I
Come
was
to the
asking
UK.
about-
Come and
Yeah,
study
go
in
to
the UK.
And that too, where Sergine is.
Yeah, so we're very fortunate in the UK. The NHS is a fantastic service, and there are NHS dentists as well who provide, who are part of the scheme. So students who needed a dental procedure, as long as we're not talking implants. But yeah, any dental procedures that are required, they would be able to see a dentist.
Okay. So on average, how long does it take for a new international students to find a legitimate part-time work in UK? And basically, while talking to the university rep or people who are living in United Kingdom, they generally say that you have to have the job, or you have to get into the sector of your courses. Is it possible? Like I have had a lot of friends who is working completely opposite of what they are studying, the courses that they're enrolled in, and the job that they do is like completely it's in north and south pole. So in which sector it is very, very easy for a student to get a part-time job? That I'm talking about a legitimate part-time job. So which is how long will it take? Well, and which is the easiest sector to get that job?
I worked at McDonald's when I arrived in the UK.
Oh, I have a very bad experience with Mac in UK. Okay. I didn't get to eat it because they didn't accept dollars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they accept pounds
Yeah.
for next time.
I'll give you a call next time I'm there.
No, I think how quickly a student finds a job depends on a student. It depends on their determination to finding a job. Most of our students use their current network. So, for example, our Nepalese students talk to the Nepalese society. They share where there are positions available. For me, one example I can give you is I had a student from Mauritius at my first university, and he kept saying to me, I can't find a job. I said, have you been to the student union? They have jobs listed there. No, I haven't been. And then he would email me again the following week, I haven't found a job. Have you been? No. Third week, have you been? He said, I emailed them. I said, listen, this university has 32,000 students. If you just keep emailing, well, everybody else is going there and looking for, taking the job applications,
Right.
looking for work, then you would get a job. And he did that. And he was able to then get a job. It's about not just thinking, I will email, I'll wait and see. We have also our BU employability for us at Bangor University, where student union post jobs. So it's about engaging, not just with your current society, for example, Nepalese society, but going to the student union, going to the various organisations near the university, asking for work. It's, you need to put the effort in.
Right. So being proactive helps. Then to be laid back and think
Absolutely.
that somebody else will
Yeah.
do
Exactly.
come and offer you a job.
Yeah,
Right. So what is the minimum wages for the students? And there are a lot of exploitations there as well. So even if the students are not paid the minimum legal wage, the wages that is determined by the government, can they report, or like, is there anything that you can do about it?
So students or anybody who goes to the UK to work should get a national insurance number. That determines
Yes.
that they can work legally, for their 20 hours in the UK. The UK government sets minimum wage, depends on if you're under 21 or over 21, and they should be paid that money. If they're not being paid the correct amount of money, they can go to Citizen Advice Bureau, they can try and raise a complaint, but I would make sure that my contract of employment, because even though you are a part-time student, you should get a contract of employment, clearly list what the minimum wage is and what you are going to be paid, so that you do not get scammed in terms of your pay and your employment within that organisation.
So what is national insurance number, and why how do you apply it? Is it very easy to get that number, and why is it important for students to get that number?
When students arrive and enrol, they are automatically sent their national insurance number by the Home Office. It's important to get that number because it shows to an employer that the students are legally entitled to work. In the passport, students will have restrictions in terms of working. So students, depending on their course, so foundation students can't do the 20 hours a week, but students can work up to 20 hours a week whilst they are studying. And it's important then for employers to make sure that those students are doing the hours that they are allowed to work and not going over. And so it also shows that they can legally work in the UK. So I wouldn't start working before I get a national insurance number, because they would then be operating illegally.
Yeah, so even for reporting any of the exploitation, you have to have that number, right? Right. So as a representative of this sector, what are the key things or a piece of advice that you can give to South Asian students, or I may say like international students, about leveraging most of the 2 years post-study work visa, and probably after you finish your graduation, what is it that what kind of an advice would you give them?
The post-study work is changing to 18 months,
18 months,
from next year.
I heard that, yeah.
But I think what I would say, it's linked to their performance at the university as well. So attendance, making sure they attend, making sure they've paid their fees, that they have been an exemplary student.
Even for a PSW?
Yes, the university is asked to comment on the student when they apply for their PSW. So making sure that their attendance has been perfect, that they have followed the rules, there's no cheating, and that they don't owe the university any money. These all count in terms of then the checks that the Home Office will make with the university in order to allow them to go into the PSW. That's normally handled by a different section. Our registry office normally handles that, so not much to do with the recruitment team. So it's once the students have started, it's their conduct at the university, all that counts towards the university signing them off for PSW.
So when should students realistically actually start looking for that post-study job?
Normally in their third year, but I think it's about making connections, for example, via their tutors, via the careers service. Whilst they are working, universities also invite professionals to come and talk to students, maybe in their third year. So it's about making connections, talking to academics about who is employing in the field that they are currently studying. I think connections are very, very important, and it's also looking that not just in the area that you study in, but further afield. Looking at the UK in general.
So that is where I was actually coming. How does this location of the UK university impact the graduates' job prospects or the job availability for international students? That is where I was actually
I
coming.
don't think the location impacts the prospects of the students. As I think the universities are all very good universities, but it's about the willingness of the students to look further afield. You know, so it might be that with the a lot of students want to go to London, but there are other big cities in the UK.
Yeah.
You know, they can go to Liverpool, Newcastle, Manchester, and then there are also the smaller cities, and they will have companies in those cities who are recruiting. It's also a willingness from the students to want to look beyond where they are currently studying or beyond the city that they actually want to live in.
Nothing to do with all of these education sector, just out of curiosity, I wanted to know, like London versus smaller cities of United Kingdom. Why is London so appealing to lots of students? They, if you hear the students, if you ask a couple of questions to them, they would say London. More than UK, United Kingdom, I have heard this London with, that's a city, so much. Why is it so appealing to international students? You might have also have had this experience that, where are you going? I'm going to London. Where are you going? I have even heard people who has a university in Manchester saying that, I'm going to London. I said, like, are you going to United Kingdom, UK? So why is it so?
Let me tell you my personal experience. When I was going to the UK, I was going to London.
You were also going to London?
I was also going to London. Everything was London. I didn't know, like, I live in Preston.
Yeah.
I didn't know Preston existed. I support Liverpool. Liverpool was in London. Liverpool FC is in London. So at that time, everything was London. And I think even to date, like the older generation, if one of their younger relatives said, I'm going to the UK, you're going to London.
Yeah, right.
It's what we know.
Right.
And I think even to date, people still think of the UK as London.
Yeah.
It goes back to choosing your university. You know, are you the type of person who will thrive in a big city, or are you the type of person where a small city where you can really focus on your studies, there's no distractions, will work better for you? What kind of person are you? Are you the one who wants to be in this big city
person
like
me,
or do you want to be somewhere quieter where you can really focus on your studies? There's no right or wrong answer. I think it depends on the individual, but I do think that as soon as people think of England and they think UK, they also think England. But there are really good universities in Wales, there's good universities in Scotland, but then you think London.
So probably United Kingdom has to do a lot of marketing on different cities of United Kingdom. And because of the English Premier League, I think lots of youngsters, Gen Zs knows a lot about Liverpool, Manchester.
And I think, for example, we are a Welsh university, so Bangor is in North Wales. We have Global Wales, who are doing quite a lot to promote the Welsh brand and Wales as a destination. So there is a lot of effort, both from the Scottish universities, from the Welsh universities as well, to promote the other countries within the UK.
Right. Yeah. So when it comes to a student, what I can just share my personal experience. Going to United Kingdom, I don't know, because of the weather, because of I don't know what. I somehow felt like I was very sad for some time. Maybe I was away from home. I was very, very young. Maybe that's the reason I could not differentiate between me getting very emotionally deprived, or I had some mental health issues, or stuff like that. So students who are going for their higher studies, pursuing their career, degrees, they definitely, I am very sure that they do have a little bit of mental health issue. You call it an emotional imbalance, or you're staying away from a house. So do you have like universities of UK, do they provide any of the services? Like, is there any welfare services available for the international students? Because that's yes, you dream of going abroad, that is something else, but living there and then getting adapted to all the new circumstances, and dealing with all the new possibilities as well as hurdles are very difficult. So you can talk about your university as well, and the universities of UK. Do they have some welfare services?
Absolutely. We recognise that moving to a different country can be daunting for
Right.
international students. Many have never travelled before or lived away from home, so there's a lot of support available to students, meant for mental health, peer mentoring, international student support services. I mentioned personal tutor at the beginning, and also for me as an ex-international student, it's connecting with the people that I met in my home country, because they're the first link that I have to studying in the UK, and that for me was important.
Right.
But I think you asked me at the beginning about students feeling homesick, and I said it was important for students to talk, for students not to feel so isolated that they don't share how they are feeling. For me, that's the worst thing they could do, because they're suffering in silence, and there are other students who have either gone through similar experiences to them, or are experienced in talking to students who are facing those types of difficulties. And it's important that they feel confident that there is somebody at the university that they can go and talk to, and there is support, pastoral support, there are chaplaincies, international. So we at the university we have an international student support team, welfare, personal tutors, international office. So there's a variety of people that they can talk to. But I think it's making use of clubs and societies are really important, because they teach you about being president of the club, of the society, secretary, etc. But where that also helps is you are getting to meet people, like-minded students who are in a similar situation than you, having left home for the first time, arriving in the UK. And if you have a hobby, whether it's cooking, whether it's music, you do not have to just join a society, for example, Nepalese society, because you're Nepalese.
Right.
You can join a music society, drama, dance, badminton, volleyball, anything to make friends. And that's where you start meeting people. You are part of a group, you're part of a community that can help you get through those first few months. You arrive in the UK in September. In October, it starts getting really dark. We change the time. It's you're having to learn. Yep. You're having to learn a new culture. Right. You are homesick. You miss home cooking. You want to know where to buy food from home. And these are people who can really help you and guide you and support you. During your first few months at the university.
So you cannot just stay back and say that, oh, I'm an introvert. You have to open up, right? Yeah.
you can't. I mean, I was shy. I was really, really shy. And I think, and we were talking about work, it took me forever to go and ask for a job at McDonald's, because I didn't feel that I would be accepted. I was really shy. I didn't talk.
Oh.
And for me, probably was one of the best things I could have ever done. I've learned so much. I've learned about budgeting. I've learned about delegation, line management. My best friend I met whilst I was working at McDonald's. So I think it's small steps. So if you're an introvert and you don't like all the societies, etc., then talk to your personal tutor. Come and talk to us at the international office. We've met already. We've got student ambassadors. So as part of what we do at the university, especially in my team, we have international student ambassadors that we use who work for us, who help us call students and talk to them about their experience at the university. Come and talk to a student ambassador.
That's much more easier.
So you don't have to go and if you're an
Right.
introvert, it's not about just joining societies. That's not you. there's different types of support for everybody.
Like students' life really easier. In the beginning, you spoke about your university providing the service of airport pickup. There are a lot of problems of legitimate homestays. Do you want to talk
When you say homestays, you mean?
Especially homestays as in accommodations to United Kingdom.
So the university has accommodation that students can apply for. I recommend for students to stay in university-owned accommodation.
But why do they opt for the other accommodations wherein they get screwed and they are like from their first experience right after they land is like chaos, and then
I think it's because sometimes it's recommended word of mouth. You know, if you know some people who are already living in that city and they say we need one extra person, come and join us, but then you turn up somewhere and you don't know anyone. You are not near the university. So I've always suggested, I mean, most of our students stay in university accommodation in year one. Generally in year two, they've made friends. That's when they get an apartment together. But I think the first year in accommodation is really, really helpful because one, it helps you, you're on the campus, you're around the university. It helps you familiarise yourself, not just with the city, but the life in the UK, being with other students who, you know, even though they may be British students, they may not be from that city, they may be from somewhere else.
Right.
Like we're in Wales, so we may have English students or Scottish students, so they are also somewhere new. And that helps you to make friends, that helps you to acclimatise to a new city, a new country, and know where you are and feel comfortable where you are before going maybe in your year two, venturing, you know, into a property with friends that you've made either on your course, or you might want to live together with some of the students who shared your apartment at the university. So I think for the first year, I always think it's better for students to stay at university accommodation.
I also feel the same, and this is really a very great thing that you have shared. And especially students, they do not, sometimes I feel like they do not use their head. Please listen to the experts who spend most of your life in the United Kingdom.
I have
right
now, yeah.
So she is an expert in it. I would really request all the students to please listen to her and follow what she has suggested. So I have heard about the students who can get their family or dependents to UK. So which are the specific levels, or I've heard about like PhD or research degrees can bring their family or dependent, or are they still eligible to sponsor dependents under UKVI rules, or it has also changed?
There are some courses, so not every course, so it's mainly research programs that where students can bring their dependents in the UK. Again, it's students should make sure that they are choosing the right university, submitting the relevant documents, making sure they submit a research proposal, and making sure that the university that they've chosen and the area that they've chosen fits their needs, because if they bring in dependents, children, making sure that they can also adapt there. It's not a loophole for students to bring dependents into the UK. They have to be genuine students looking for research programs, and it's not a system that should be abused either. So genuine research students who are doing their research proposal, but also research the city, the where their, you know, if they have children, where their children are going to be studying, making sure that they're prepared and they find the right accommodation. But please do not use this as a loophole to come to the UK and bring dependents.
Not at all. We do not encourage
No.
any of the fraudulent ideas
Yeah.
or act. So probably like we're almost at the end. I'll just be asking a couple of questions,
Okay.
which I think I've missed out in the
Okay.
beginning, which was there in my head, but I'm just holding this cue card. But your answers are so spontaneous. I'm just developing questions accordingly. So I would want to ask you, since you have really spent your life in UK, especially it's an advantage for me to interview you because you have started your journey as an international student. Now you are the director. You are there representing the university. You've worked with different universities. So let's not say are. What is one of the most crucial piece of information or a question that an international student should ask or verify with the university directly before making any of the payments? Because this has really struck in my head, because you have also heard about the incidents that had happened a couple of years back to the students, the international students who has applied for United Kingdom. So what is one crucial piece of information or the question the student should ask the university before they make the payment?
I think for me, it's more about, is this the right university for me?
Okay.
You know, am I going to be happy here? You know, it's going to, some families take loans, remortgage their properties,
Right.
and the student goes to the university. Am I going to be happy there? Am I on the right course? You know, I have seen so many students come to me and say, I want to do fashion. Tell me about fashion. And then they turn around and say, now tell me about business, because my mum wants me to do business. So it has to be the right course for you, and first of all, the right university. You're about to go and spend 2 to 4 years of your life at a university.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's about making sure you have done your research, that you know where you are going. But part of your research involves talking to students who are there, maybe talking to student ambassadors, contacting the societies, you know, especially if you're from Nepal, for example. There's a Nepalese society. Hearing it from them, what are their experiences like? Are they enjoying it? Are they happy where they are? What advice can they give fellow Nepalese students in terms of coming to this university? So I think for me, is there a specific question to ask the university, but it's about the research that you do to make sure that you have chosen the right place for you to go and study.
So you were talking about, like, you just spoke about the mortgage thing, how difficult it is for the student. So I would want you to let us know, our students and their parents who's watching us, one most obvious non-negotiable red flag sign wherein the student or the parent has to say that, okay, stop, I'm not gonna use this agent because of whatsoever reason. Can you just mention one obvious non-negotiable red flag
If the agent tells you to pay them the tuition fees.
in their account?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is a big red flag.
I've worked for 3 universities in the UK, and in each of our agent contract, we've always said that agents should not collect fees,
Right.
from tuition fees from the students.
Right.
The fees should be paid directly to the university. So if any agent is pressurizing parents, students to pay them, then for me that is a no.
Yeah.
And yeah.
A big non-negotiable red flag.
Yeah.
So at the end, what is the top advice that you give to an international student to maintain a full control? Like, I have seen a lot of students does not have a full control or transparency over their application self. So and financial documents throughout the entire process. Please advise the students to maintain that they have the full control and a transparency of all their applications and the financial documents and all the procedures. Most of the students have met. They say like, "What is this?" And probably that is the reason why uh, lots of students fail their credibility interview. So what is it there the student can have the transparency? I know it that they can have the transparency as well as full control, but I don't know how. So you being an expert, please let us know how to have the full control and transparency.
I think first of all is research. Know where you want to apply. Do not let agents just push you in applying to any university. You know, make sure you have done your research.
Okay.
They will also, when they're counselling you, giving you information, be able to suggest some universities. Make sure you then research those universities. It keep going back to, is this the right university for you?
Right.
Talk to the university. So if in doubt at any point, make sure you are in dialogue with the university. When an agent says to you, go to university X, do they represent that university? So yeah, so it's about taking some ownership of the application.
Right.
It's not just on the agent, it's about the students also doing their research, making sure that they are confident that this particular agent is representing them and representing the university. And if in doubt, talk to the university. But it's research. And there are some agents who will say, here's 5 universities, we'll apply there. But you've got 5 other universities.
Right.
You know, research those universities. They have to be the right universities. They have to offer you a course. You know, you want to study. I had an agent in a, I'm not naming the country,
Right.
but everybody went to China to do medicine, even though they wanted to do engineering.
Oh.
These aren't the right agents. You know, you walk into an agency, you've got a couple of universities in mind, they might suggest a few more, you research them, you want to do engineering, you do not want to be walking out of that agency. Suddenly you are going to study in the US and you're about to go and study architecture, when you've walked in wanting to study in the UK and wanting to study engineering. So taking ownership of your destiny as well, and not putting everything in the hands of the agency. Making sure you do your research, not just on the university, but the agency that you have walked into to do that. But the university provides the tools to do that, for you to take ownership with the AQF, with the website, all the information that's there, with the country representatives that we have, with the international office. All of our contact details are on the website. So there's information there for you to use to help you choose, is this the right agent for me?
Okay. So dependency is not good. You have to be proactive and then do your research. If you're a student and if you want your future to be bright, then you have to work hard.
And it also
do
takes you
research and be not stay back and take a back foot saying that, oh, I'm an introvert. That is what I got from you. And then it's very easy to be not fall for all the fraudulent, because it is just being a little bit of proactiveness will help you get rid of all of these things.
But it also helps you in your future,
Right?
in your
Yeah,
future
of
career.
course,
So
of
you're
course.
starting from the choice of university, from your choice of agent, you are starting to control your own destiny, and which is what you do in terms of your career aspirations too.
Right. So, Charjan, there's so much of things that we got from you. Such a great knowledge, and I am actually very happy that my motive of doing the podcast is really fulfilled. My motive is to inform the students and the parents who are really who really does not have any idea of what it is all about. I think you have given us all the insights on choosing the universities, the part-time jobs, accommodations, how to report. We talked about somewhat on health surcharge. Like there are a lot of things that we spoke about, and thank you so very very much, Sergeant. It was wonderful. Pleasure having you here. And when you come to Kathmandu, I would definitely want to do one more season because you are full of knowledge, and I think students who students who wants to go to UK especially will get a lot of information and insight. We'll dig it from you, and thank you so very much.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed that. And if I may say one last thing,
Yes.
going to the UK to study was the best thing I could have ever done. So if anybody wants to do it, really look into it. It's the best decision I could have done. And for me now, the opportunity that I'm helping transform lives of students who were in the same position as me is really, really rewarding. So but thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about my experience, past and current, and it's a pleasure to be able to meet you and showcase UK universities to your audience. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
So let's talk something which we enjoy. Let's do a rapid fire. So rapid fire, you cannot take a long time.
Okay.
It has to be very prompt and quick.
Okay.
Okay. So Bollywood or Hollywood?
Both.
You can choose both.
Bollywood I watched when I was little.
Okay.
So I don't watch a lot of Bollywood anymore. So currently it's Hollywood. But when I was growing up, I watched a lot of Bollywood. So both.
You're screwing up the question. Okay. So one song you can listen to on repeat forever.
Sound of Silence
Mm-hmm.
and Kalisi, a Gujarati song.
Okay. Gujarati song?
Yes.
Oh, wow, great.
My Nepalese colleagues introduced me to this song.
Oh,
And every time, everybody who knows me, anybody who, when I come here, when we did agent conference in India, they always play that song for me.
Oh, wow, wonderful. So are you a tea person or a coffee person in the morning?
Coffee.
Coffee, great. Favorite movie you can watch 100 times?
10 Things I Hate About You.
Ah. So cricket, football or?
Football. Football.
Yeah, no, undoubtedly. You live in the United Kingdom. So if you were not working in an education sector, what job would you love to try?
Law.
Interesting. Law, I can really see it because your answers are very precise and you're being very articulate. Spicy or sweet food?
Spicy.
Early bird or a night owl? Okay, let me guess.
Go on.
Night owl.
I used to be, but I have 6 dogs, so now I have to be up at 5 every morning.
I have two. One place in the world you want to visit next?
Hawaii.
You haven't been there?
No.
No, okay. Love at first sight, yes or no?
Yes.
I need a high five for this. Your hidden talent that nobody knows.
Ooh, I don't think I have any.
I think you can sing.
No.
You can dance.
No. I used to twirl. I used to be a majorette. I can twirl.
Oh, so you don't have any hidden talent. I don't believe it. I don't believe that. Everybody has. So what's yours? This is a rapid fire. Come on.
Dance.
Dance. Yeah.
I'm making it up now.
Mountains or beaches
Beach.
for holidays?
Beaches.
Okay. And one Nepali dish you've ever tried and you want to try more?
Thali. I like the thalis. I like that it's different bits and it all comes together really nicely.
So you've answered all of my questions. Rapid fires are like, some were not that
Not so
prompt.
rapid.
Yeah, not that rapid, but because you chose 2 of the answers, but you did super. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I hope you enjoyed.
I did, thank you.
Wow, time really flies when you're learning from someone as amazing as Sergine. Time really flies. So we've covered so much today, from how classes actually work in the UK to choosing the right courses, understanding money rules, finding safe accommodation, getting part-time jobs, and most importantly, how to keep full control over your application so no one can cheat you. If you take away just one thing from this episode, let it be this. You are in charge of your future. You are in charge of your future. Let me repeat it. Always check everything directly with the university. Never hand over your money to an agent's personal account. And remember, genuine universities and real offices like Sergine are always happy to answer any of your questions directly. A huge heartfelt thank you to our wonderful guest Sergine Monple, Director of Global Engagement at Bangor University. Sergine, on behalf of every Nepali students as well as parents, and I should say international students and parents, dhanyavad from the bottom of our heart for your honesty and for caring so much about our students. If today's episode had helped you even a little, please share it with your friends, your cousins, or that of your WhatsApp group that you're always talking about UK Padhai. Together, we can make sure every Nepali student as well as international student reaches the UK safely, happily, and successfully. This is Sona Matya signing off. Dream big, keep asking questions, and I'll see you in the next episode of the Sona Matya Show. Namaste and take care, and see you soon.